Petrie-Ferguson family involvement with saddlebreds began in the 1960s when Marjorie and Don Ferguson gave their daughter Jean riding lessons with Don Peebles near Chicago. Jean first showed in a class similar to Academy, remembers Marge. Fortunately or unfortunately, she won, and that was the beginning of all of this. At first, Jean's saddlebreds were in training with Chat Nichols, but then Don eventually decided to build his own barn. When the Ferguson family purchased a 120-acre dairy farm and began construction on what would become Royal Scott Stables in 1969, Don Ferguson brought one of his employees, Tom Petrie, to work on construction. Until then, horses had played no part in Tom's life. However, one horsewoman quickly took on an important role. He and Jean Ferguson married in 1971, and Tom would go on to be president of the ASHA for several years, ending that reign in 2002. Royal Scott Stables opened in 1970 with Bonnie Byrne as head trainer. Another fixture at Royal Scott Stables, Mary Jo McAbee, was hired that year. Mary Jo joined Royal Scott as a caretaker and worked her way to breeding manager during her 30-year association with the stable. Over the next few years, while Royal Scott Stables was becoming a top show barn, developing such show ring stars as world champion Tartan Twilight, world champion City Glitter, world champion Jimmy's Jewel, world champion Epcot Center, Lady Cameron, and more, Don Ferguson would spend his weekdays in his office running the family business, Rust-Oleum Paint Corporation, and his weekends at the farm. It wasn't long until Bonnie decided to get both Marge and Don into showing. Bonnie bought the stud pony Tijuana Brass for Don and the cobtail pony Dunhaven Inspiration for Marge. Don Ferguson quickly became a fixture in the winner's circle with his 10-time world champion Tijuana Brass. He was on the lines with this long-tailed star at the 1976 Illinois State Fair when Don suffered a heart attack and died. Cards had already been turned in. They had won their final class. Around this time, Jean's children, Donna and Kristen, had started riding lessons closer to their suburban home with Bonnie Kittredge at Harmswood Stable, then with Kim and Fran Crumpler. We eventually moved to Royal Scott Stables, and all of a sudden we were a family, recalled Fran. We couldn't have asked for a better situation. During those years, the Petrie family showed such stars as the celebrated performance horses, Champion Gotta Dance, Champion Redan's Rosie, Champion Fantastic Step, and Champion Bo Ollie, while Tommy participated at shows by borrowing one of his sister's equitation horses for lead line, showing in a top hat and white gloves. The passion that the Crumplers had for competition was instilled in the Petrie children, who went on to win various equitation and performance titles throughout the years with both Crumplers and other trainers and instructors, including Scott and Carol Matten, Frank and Nancy McConnell, Sharon Michael, Steve and Julia Joyce, Jimmy Miller, Andy and Linda Frieseth, Neela McCracken, Dave Becker, Nelson Green, Tom Thorpe and Bob Griffin, Marcia Everett, Mike Dale and Julie Arnston, Jack Nevitt, and DeLovely Farm. In 1983, Jean and Tom's youngest son, Andrew, was born. As Andrew struggled with health issues over several years, his family realized that a change to a drier, hotter climate was essential for him. They looked to Tucson, Arizona as their new home. Pat McConnell had never visited Arizona until he went to work for Royal Scott in the winter of 1993. The family and their horses wintered in the desert, returning to Illinois for the spring, summer, and fall. He and Julie Kaufman remained with Royal Scott until February of 1997. In 1996, the Royal Scott crew had a World Championship horse show to remember, winning 8 blues and 6 reserves. Favorite show horses headed to Louisville that year included World Champion of Champions Bazooka Joe, World Champion Fantastic Step, World Champion High Expectations, World Champion Olivier, World Champion What a Wise Guy, and World Champion of Champions Bold Lad. In 1997, Steve Wheeler and Tony Ray took over the training duties at Royal Scott and again put top ribbons up at Louisville, highlighted with What a Memory winning the Adult Pleasure World Champion of Champions title with Kristen. In the spring of 1997, the purchase of Callaway's Frank James as the new juvenile 5-gated mount for Tommy from Kenny Smith unknowingly began a new era for Royal Scott as it introduced Donna to the young horseman from Minnesota. In 1999, Donna and Kenny married and trained out of Kenny's barn in Minnesota, enjoying much success with horses such as World Champion Protege, Reserve World Champion Cashback, World Champion of Champions M80, World Champion Callaway Scoop the News, World Champion Callaway's Newscaster, Reserve World Champion My Grande, World Champion Peppermint Sunburst, World Champion Concrete Blonde, and many more. In 2000, they decided to move to Illinois and join the list of prestigious trainers that had worked for Royal Scott. That same year, Callaway's Frank James and Tommy Petrie won the amateur 5-gated World Champion of Champions title in their final show ring performance. Today, Donna and Kenny operate Skyline Stables located on the new Royal Scott property with Kristen Petrie as the office manager, Tommy as the assistant trainer, and Tommy's wife Vanessa, whom he married in 2010, showing under the Skyline banner. Tom C. and Jean Petrie still operate Royal Scott Stables, which is a retirement and breeding operation. Sadly, matriarch Marge Ferguson passed away on October 6th at the age of 89. This grand lady of her family and the show ring will be missed by all those whose lives she touched. The Petrie family would like to dedicate this award to her and the late Donald Ferguson and the legacy they left behind.